Banana Slam Jam.
So, welcome everybody. This is officially like episode 5 or 6, whatever, of the Banana Slam Jaron podcast, where we talk about kind of anything and everything Dota. Next week, we will for sure bring in an awkward third party as a third wheel, but this week, once again, it's just going to be me and Monkeys. So, I know you're injured, Monkeys.
Indeed.
What happened, buddy? How'd you strain your knee, you said?
I hyperextended it. I was playing soccer, and the other team actually had a couple of players who could match my speed, which is uncommon. And
Nice flex, bro.
I overexerted myself a bit, and I did block the shot that I hyperextended my knee on, but I hyperextended my knee, so I was unable to finish the game.
So did you win the game off of that shot?
No, they actually scored like 3 goals right after I got injured because I'm like our team's entire defense. So...
Okay, so you want to know my worst injury? My worst like career-ending injury. I had a really bad compound fracture, but like I'm talking about one that just ruined my career because I had a really bad. Okay, I'll just tell you. So I was playing basketball sophomore year of high school. It was the summer league between freshman year and sophomore year, and we were playing against a team that wasn't very good, and we were ahead by like 30 points in the fourth quarter. Like the game's fucking over. But for the sake of not disrespecting the opponents, like straight up, like we were just continuing to play the game. We were just playing normally. And I go full hustle the rest of the game, and I decide to jump up for a rebound with like 45 seconds left, okay? 45 seconds left in the game, up by 30, and my foot like basically lands on someone's ankle and then rolls. No. And then I roll really bad, and I sprained my ankle so bad I was out for like 3 months. Like it was a really bad sprain. They basically said I was lucky to not tear it, and if I hadn't had high top shoes on, I definitely would have torn it. And I was just like, so I was out for 12 weeks, and it basically, I was never the same basketball player, man. You know, all excuses. I have plenty of them in Dota. I have plenty of them for my basketball sports career. But, yeah, man, it sucks. Like, when you, especially for me, I'm up by 40. For you, you still lose the game. Yeah. You know, you don't even,
Dude, I actually, my worst injury, at least when it came to Dota, I got a hairline fracture on my left wrist when I was snowboarding with some friends. They challenged me to race goofy-footed down the mountain, and I was like, I can handle this, why not? And it was super cold out, so the entire slope was like incredibly icy. I was going goofy-footed, and I had no idea how to like actually brake reliably while I was going goofy-footed.
Yeah.
So I fell, and I fell onto my wrist on a patch of ice. And so my wrist had like a fracture from that. The day after I got my cast off from that hairline fracture, I was playing soccer with my cast off, and I was going to take a shot, and the defender tripped me as I went to take a shot, and I threw my hands out to like shelter my fall or whatever. I snapped my wrist in 4 different places after that. And then,
at least you're laughing about it now. I don't
know. That made Dota quite difficult for a while because after I snapped in like 3 different places, I had to actually be in a cast for about 5 months or something like that because it just took forever to heal.
That's gonna take a while. I was about to say that's not happening anytime soon. Yeah, it's funny. I haven't injured myself in a decently long time, but I've now that I'm older, my back. With all the time playing Dota, there's definitely some random overtime injuries you accrue. I don't know if you ever had back injuries and stuff like that.
Oh, are you kidding me, BSJ? I play Dota for a living, and I'm almost 27. Of course, I've had fucking back injuries and stuff. Dude, even Husky, he's been complaining about his lower back, and he's only 21 right now. Gunner, he already has an elbow brace on for when he plays like 12 hours of Dota because he's just trying to get ahead of the injuries and the carpal tunnel that you get from just sitting at your computer all day and everything. I mean, truly, that's the stuff that you have to do if you don't want to get injured from playing Dota nonstop because it's just
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
It's rough, man.
I was gonna segue. Like, I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to talk about today, and then when you mentioned you got injured, I thought it'd be a funny segue into Dota because there's a lot of bad habits that you can do at the computer playing Dota that result in, playing worse, but also just getting injured, right? And so it's like, the funny thing for me, okay, all you Zoomers at home, this is my one tidbit of advice that I really wanted to give today. By the time you realize what you're doing is bad, you've waited way too long. It's like by the time you feel dehydrated, you've waited like way too long to drink water. By the time you have lower back problems, this is something that has built up over the course of like 3 years plus of you sitting shittily, you not doing ab workouts, all that kind of shit. So I realized that back then when I was like 18, I was on the sports teams, right? And younger, I'll say 18 and younger. And I got told by coaches, Brian, you're supposed to stretch. And I said, and I was one of those guys. I actually want to give you my routine. I want to give you my routine straight up. When I was running track, I was, I won state. I was actually pretty fast, guys. For people, I'm, not flexing. It's just like I was actually legitimately an athlete. I ran track, and I would run my 400-meter race, and I would end the race, like I'd finish it, and I would go lay down for half an hour and take a nap. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. You're supposed to stretch all this random shit, and I would go lay down and take a nap. And
you can't do that.
Yeah, so at 17, I was a raid boss. My body, I would come back the next day ready to run that 400-meter at full speed once again. But now, at age 28, what I've realized is that my hip flexibility is about a 0.5 out of 10. Okay, it's terrible. My hip flexibility is terrible. Go ahead.
I remember you telling me about this when we were climbing in Boston. How you were just like, I genuinely can't do the motions you're telling me to do, monkeys.
So I've been doing some yoga and stuff here and there for like stretching. I've gone to some chiropractors, and like they just straight up, there's like, holy shit, for 28. And if I don't start working on that now, it's like when I'm 40, 50, hopefully I live that long, it's like, fuck, I'm screwed. So, go ahead.
I was just going to say, funnily enough, well, maybe it's not funny, but my dad, he's been warning me about lower back problems since I was maybe 10 years old. And literally, like, as I was going up, I'm just like, yeah, Dad, you're just talking out of your ass. You just had some bad genes or something.
Yeah, you oldie. No my body feels great, Dad.
Then I hit like 22 years old. I'm like, oh man, I'm starting to feel a little tweak down there. Maybe I should start thinking about posturating properly and shit like that.
Yeah, it's the same with diet. When you're a kid, you eat whatever the hell you want and you barely put on weight. It's like, the funny thing is, I feel like in your 20s, you learn all of this stuff the hard way. That's like the growth you experience.
That's like the experimental age, that like you can still mess up, but like you can still physically recover from your mistakes and everything.
Now's the time, chat. So what we're getting at here is like, life lessons from BSJ and Monkeys here is that better late than never. And if you're in your 20s, you're already late. So better now than never. For me, I've realized that lower back pain is probably the most significant one. It's all about, the fact that we're sitting in chairs all day. Yeah. And it's funny because I talked to Collie about it, and something that just never hit me is that I always thought that if you flex your abs while you're walking, that you're kind of like showing off. Like, you're literally like, look at how nice my abs look, But what I realized is that like 90% of back pains is like not using your abs. Like you're not using your abs, so all the weight that's supposed to be on your abs or pressure or whatever is on your lower back.
Yeah, right? It's all about core strength, basically, which is something rock climbing actually helps you get very solidly as well, which is part of why I got into rock climbing in the first place, because not only does it, work out your hands and your tendons and stuff, which I do have
really
issues with my tendons and stuff, but like it really focuses on your core, which like does help posturate better and just helps you live a more healthy lifestyle when you're not as active as the majority of people who like, walk everywhere or whatever.
And I realized that, like, so going off what you said, absolutely. When it comes to walking everywhere, when I would go to like theme parks or whatever, that my back would always start to hurt, my lower back.
Yeah.
And I've realized in the short time she's mentioned it, this was pretty recently that she like brought this to my attention, that if I walk around with my abs flexed, my lower back doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't hurt anymore. And I'm like, oh, that's something I could have done when I was like 12. And if I did it every day when I was 12,
then you would have the habits now, and it would just be natural.
Yeah, because she's like, how do you walk without flexing your abs? Like, I always flex my abs. It's just something I do. And I'm like, hey, what? That sounds exhausting to like flex your abs. But like, obviously, it's the same with Dota. Any habit you form, if you just get used to doing it, it's it's gonna be there. I just think that some of this stuff seems so fucking obvious. And like, people ask about skincare routines. People ask about workout plans. It's like, you just gotta educate yourself, man. You gotta talk to the right people. You gotta surround yourself with people who care about being healthy too, and it's important. It's important.
It is. I mean, it really does just go such a long way to build those habits early on. I mean, as far as like actually physically working out goes, like I was super good at putting in the time and effort to actually better my muscle mass and everything while I was growing up and everything. But like the small things, like even just walking properly, where like how you like are very prominent about making the arches in your feet like not go flat-footed and stuff like that. Even with that, I've been so terrible at stuff like that, which has started giving me ankle problems and stuff. And it's like all of these small things, like all of them go such a long way if you get into the habit of doing things properly, as far as like your ankles, your knees, your lower back. Like I would say those are honestly probably the core 3 things that a lot of gamers at least can struggle with.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I want people to be clear that I personally am upset with myself because a lot of things I've done a better job of fixing, but I feel like if I were to consistently stretch my hips for like 2 years, I would no longer have hip issues. And I keep doing like yoga and shit and stretching it off and on. And like after a month or 2, I'm right back where I started. Like back where I started. And it's so important on any of these things that you have to make it a consistent part of your life, whether or not it's a Dota habit, whether or not it's a life habit. Because for me, like, you just gotta do it, man. It's like, fuck, it's,
you do. Because it makes you mentally more healthy. It makes you physically more healthy. It just like it actually does everything for you. Something I have personally learned over the last few years is how few people actually understand just how like physical activity will solve so many of
That's
many
an
of
American
your issues.
thing
like...
for sure. The thing is like when I go to Europe, when I go to Asia for random events, you walk a lot.
Yeah.
Wherever you have to go, even in New York right now, when I've moved to New York, it's like, or I've been living in New York for a while, it's like, you just walk a lot of places. I have to walk. I bike, I walk, and I'm eating about the same amount, and I weigh like way less. Like people ask me, you look really skinny, and I'm like, well, I'm eating the same amount, but I feel better, and I am skinnier because I'm just walking, 5 days a week I'm walking. And in Arizona, though, it's like most places you go are a 10, 15-minute drive. You can't walk. And like most of the Southwest, at least. So a big part for me is, like you said, it doesn't have to be some crazy workout plan. A lot of it's just walking out.
Seriously, walk around for an hour and a half. You're golden, honestly.
Go to the grocery store and just walk, man. Go do normal things you're doing and then walk.
When we were living in Boston together, we would just walk to the grocery store, go grocery shopping, and walk back with groceries. And like that was a solid workout for us at the time. That was all we were doing.
Carrying those bags for 5 or 10 blocks. That adds up, man. For me, like whenever Collie and I have to go grocery shopping, I get that solid 30 minutes that I'm carrying some fucking grocery bags. And part of me is like, God, I wish I could just carry these in my car. But at the same time, I'm like, hey, free workout for the day or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, I think it's just crazy that when it comes to Dota, slowly but surely, I think the most positive impact that Collie's had on my life, and somebody like you as well, there's very few people I feel like in Dota itself that emphasize these things, has been the life habits and how they actually make me feel more energetic as a streamer. They make me feel, overall better throughout the course of the day, better mood. Like having a lower back pain, man, it's miserable. Like it's fucking miserable.
So bad.
It makes you pissed. It makes you tilted. It makes you irritable. Like it's so agonizing, man. So I'm just telling people out there that if you just feel shitty day to day, man, so many of these little things can actually make such a life-changing difference. And like when you talked about getting injured, I just thought of this all this
and I see someone in your chat say, do Americans just not walk? I mean, you have to understand, at least for me, I live in the middle of nowhere right now, so quite literally anywhere I do want to go, it's a 10-minute drive or something. I get there and then I do whatever activity I'm doing and then I drive back home. Like there literally isn't walking unless I'm like doing it with a purpose, which is like walking my dogs or something like that, which is like I mean I try to do that at least like 3 times a week, but still I don't just do like the walking from or walking around my work campus or walking just walking in general. I don't do that very frequently.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of other countries I see it being talked about in chat as well. They're much smaller, right? Like America, they don't realize like Texas is larger than most European countries, right? Like Texas is one of 50 states, so it's like it's crazy because nothing's within walking distance, and it's kind of like a nature of our culture. But in America specifically, when I talk to people, like, it's something you have to go out of your way to make sure you're doing. Society no longer requires you to do it, like, the way things are constructed. I realized in Arizona that, like, I never realized it growing up, because in sports, I was running all the time, and I was being active, and I was doing these things I had to do for sports, and then I didn't realize how big of an impact they had on my life, because I was just doing them. And then the second I started not doing them, because I wasn't playing sports, even if I was working out, it's like it wasn't enough, working out 5 hours a week compared to 3 hours of sports a day.
Dude, I know what you're saying all too well. When I literally right after I graduated high school, when I was in high school, I was like super fit. I was doing probably, I would say around 5 hours of physical activity a day, whether it be walking, running, playing a sport with friends, just playing some random game at school, whatever. Like I was doing a solid amount of like physical activity every single day while I was in high school. And then as soon as I graduated, it just came to a full stop for me because I went all in on Dota. I literally was playing 14, 16 hours a day of Dota. I was streaming the majority of it. Like that was all I was doing. And for the first like 2 years, my body was still like, still a little toned and like still managing it fairly well. But that 3rd year, dude, the amount I was eating with the amount of actual physical activity and stuff I was doing, it was just like it was so lopsided that I just started like gaining weight and started feeling worse about myself. And that was the first time in my life I had ever experienced that. And then like eventually I hit the point of maybe like I think I hit 220 pounds, like that was my peak weight or whatever, and I was just like, wow, I am very unhappy with my physical appearance and like where I am right now and like everything, and mentally I was struggling because I wasn't doing anything to make myself feel better. And then I just kind of like when it came to that realization, I was just like, oh, I do have to do physical activities still. I can't just like all in on Dota. Like it's just not doable for me because I will struggle.
Your body needs it, right? And the thing is that I think what bothers me a lot, it's not that it bothers me, it's like I think what people don't understand, and I didn't understand either, and that's like why it bothers me when I learn lessons and I see other people that haven't learned them yet, and I'm like, fuck, man. Dude, it's so obvious. Now that I know and it's been brought to my attention. A lot of this stuff is just a little thing you have to do every day. Like it's really a lifestyle habit choice. And if you're not going to wake up the next day with a better back. You didn't go to sleep and wake up with a bad back. You woke up with a bad back after 3 years of bad habits, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the only way you're going to have a healthier life or healthier, body in general is to do all these little things to counteract what you've been doing the last several years. So
yeah.
It's the same in Dota, though. If you have bad habits when it comes to mechanics, bad
absolutely.
habits when you think about the game, it's like just as long as it took you to create those habits and, solidify them, it's going to take that much longer to, get rid of them or change them.
Absolutely. And so something that you just said made me think of something that my dad told me probably when I was 21, 22 years old or something. But my dad, he was super into swimming when he was in high school and college. He was a competitive, I believe he was a butterfly swimmer, like
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
the stroke
yeah,
he
yeah.
did. And he literally told me like every single morning that he woke up to go to swim practice and everything, he was just like literally there was a 2-minute time frame every single morning where I was just like all I could think was just get your ass to the car. As soon as you start driving to the gym, it's already over. You're gonna
Yep.
do what you set out to do. All you have to do is get into the car and like just get your ass moving and like
The
you're
initial
you're
inertia,
done.
man. The
Like
inertia. The
yeah,
inertia is the
exactly.
tough part, man. That's a word I
Exactly.
haven't used in a very long time, but
Yeah, yeah,
inertia,
yeah.
it's all about that initial oomph. Like,
Yep.
you just can't, I know that feeling, man.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
even recently, I've been struggling a bit just because, so the weird thing for me is that this year, and speaking of life habits, I don't want to deviate too much, but you know me, I'm a pretty naturally secluded guy. Okay,
Yeah.
like I just kind of isolate myself, and I realize it's not necessarily a good thing for a streaming career. Perhaps it's good
Maybe
to,
not. Maybe
perhaps
not.
being a content creator, it might be good to collaborate with other people.
Yeah,
And I realized
I've been
like
coming to that realization myself, BSJ,
dude,
don't worry.
so recently it's just like so many things I'm doing are like partnerships or collaborations. I'm stuck working here with you. It's like, all these things that I'm doing, and it takes up so much more time in my day that I'm not used to having, and I'm like, God, that extra 2 hours that I had to just relax, I have to spend it either weightlifting or I don't get to relax. Like, I don't get to
Yeah,
relax,
exactly. Yeah.
So finding that right time for yourself too. But recently, every time I do another step in my life, I feel like I have no time, because however much free time you used to have, if you're working out 30 minutes a day now, suddenly you have that much less free time, and
Yeah,
that's the hardest part to adjust to. I feel like our
for sure,
bodies
for
and our
sure.
minds get so used to how much work time, how much free time we have in a day, and for me,
I
that's hard.
I mean, even during quarantine, for pretty much I would say 3 months, maybe 4 months, I was doing nothing but just, lounging around, watching TV shows, and like, you know, I was dating someone at the time, so I
Nice
would hang
flex,
out with
bro.
her. I would. Well, we're no longer dating, BSJ. How is that even a flex? Anyway, we would hang out a lot, obviously, and I would maybe occasionally see a friend like once a month or something like that. But I wasn't doing any physical activity because I just, well, for one, my knee was injured back then as well, and it had only recently healed, and now I re-injured it. So, hooray! But my point is that literally in those 3 to 4 months of me just doing no physical activity, I could quite literally feel myself just being less energetic and less energetic and less energetic, and I would be less motivated to do more, do anything really. And it really, it just all piles up on you at some point if you neglect your physical well-being, your mental well-being, and all of this stuff. And I know we've kind of touched on this subject before, so I don't want to like revent
Yeah,
or
all the
what,
people that have watched every single minute of our podcast,
but
they hate it.
but my point is that a lot of the small things really do build up a lot over time, and I think it's important to just try to stay on top of those things, because when you are physically healthy and mentally healthy, it just makes you that much more eager to learn new things and be better and do better, and like it makes you more motivated to go out and just take the world and just do what you gotta do, like
Okay, so I want you to think about this approach. Okay, I want everyone in chat to
okay,
think about this approach. We're all Dota players, right? So we
some
start a
of
Dota
us.
game. Well, most of the people watching at least have dabbled in some Dota. Are you implying I'm not a Dota player and I'm just a
What? No, I was just
personality
saying. I
piece
was
of
just
meat?
saying. We have so many viewers, VSJ. A
Okay.
lot of people just watch Dota and they don't play
Okay.
anymore.
So everyone here at least has heard of the game of Dota. So what I'm going with here is that, think about it. So every game of Dota, you start at 0 minutes, right? And your goal
yeah.
is to get as farmed as possible in the shortest amount of time as possible. You know, you're trying to get 6 slotted, you're trying to get...
Is that always the goal? I feel like the goal can vary for each role, BSJ. I'm just saying, I'm trying to keep this analogy realistic here.
Collaborating as a unit. You know, in Dota, it's a team game. You want your 5 heroes' net worth and experience to be higher than the opponent. Okay,
I'll agree with that one.
Okay, have you ever thought... So in Dota, it's all about these, like, micro efficiencies. It's all about whatever it takes to make your hero accelerate as fast as possible, whether or not you're a support or, you know, core monkey.
Yeah.
So, have you ever thought
Big boy core is coming through.
Have you ever thought about that life is just an 80-year-long Dota game?
It's just Dota? Is that what you're trying to say?
That all we're trying to do
Dota.
is to accrue as many skills and as much money as possible. And then eventually the game just ends.
Don't make this comparison. You're ruining Dota for
blowing up. Instead of the ancient blowing up, we just die. What do you think, monkeys?
I mean, you know, very, very thought-provoking concept there, BSJ, but, you know.
Well, like, so, like, if you spend time, right? If you spend time, it's like a Midas, you know, when you're in your teenage years. If you stretch, you're maybe losing time with your friends, so you're weaker in your teens. But then it pays off in the late game, because when you're old, you're not, you know, inflexible and out of shape.
So you're saying flexibility is equivalent to like items and experience and stuff like that, like a flexibility and muscle mass and stuff like that.
You know, general life skills. You know, I'm not, you know, the ability to cook, to read, you know, like be articulated.
Well, you have to make direct comparisons here to you know really drive the point home to the podcast here. So.
If life is Dota, my net worth would be position 6, is what somebody in chat said. Somebody else said position 5. Where's my alpha Chad carries in there? You know, people that are winning in life. Charlie Sheen, we need him in the chat.
Charlie Sheen. Yeah, that's a name I haven't heard in ages.
You know, that's just for whatever reason. Whenever I hear the word winning, I think of Charlie Sheen because of that.
I remember the Charlie Sheen memes when he was hopped up on whatever the fuck it was.
Whatever the drugs. It's if life is Dota, does that mean the billionaires are position 1s? Yeah, I mean something like that. At the end of the day, are we not all struggling to even buy boots because they're busy having a Battle Fury and 4 other items? Isn't that more accurate than you would like it to be, monkeys?
Sure, BSJ. I'll disagree with this one, you know.
I see.
It feels like you put a lot of thought into it, so I can't argue.
This actually, like, I've thought basic stuff about this before, but I've actually never said it out loud. So this is my first time really, you hear your thoughts out loud, and they sound even better.
On a more serious note, like, yes, Dota is all about creating habits and good habits, and you know, really applying yourself to being consistent with those habits. And you know, I do think that does apply to life as well. But
I love the chat about this one. We're all supports slaving away for our position 1 overlords.
Yep, can confirm. That's all the Zoomers are, really. we just slave away until Sammy goes, yeah, I think I can win the game now. And we're like, all right, cool, let's go win the game.
Okay, so I've started to notice in the offlane that no matter what happens in the game, it's my job to run at people. If I'm level 8 at 15 minutes, it's my job to run at people because nobody else does.
That pretty much is the essence of offlane right now, I would say. Is pretty much you hit your first power spike, and for about 7 minutes, you have to play off of that initial power spike. And then you just it doesn't matter what you need, what you want, doesn't matter. That first power spike you hit, that's what you got.
I feel like any hero that needs a blink is like so hard to pull off. Like I just want to play Mars and Arena Spear people. Otherwise, like I'm just running around the map wishing I had a blink, and I can't farm anything. It's just that's the state of Dota for me right now. I played 7 games today, and one of them I won my lane, but every game I was just against like fly on Enchantress or Chin. And I'm like, well, this is enjoyable.
Try out Night Stalker, BSJ.
Night Stalker? I did see it a couple times today.
That's a sleep. It's a sleeper right now.
Okay, I'll have to keep that. I actually like Night Stalker.
I'm sure Husky or Mike is gonna flame me for saying that on the podcast, but you know, I'll give you a little tip.
Okay.
Hit up the Night Stalker.
We all know that the other North American teams are studying our discussions in order.
Hey,
to...
I've seen Crit and Quinn watching our podcast before, so.
If you guys get a Night Stalker ban against you like third round and. You know,
I'm actually quitting the podcast if that happens.
Yeah, we can remember this moment as, you know, that meme, like, that's when he knows. He fucked up, you know. So, how long is the podcast, said Light Green? Well, now that you mention it, I think it's going to be like another 10 minutes or so. You know, we usually go about 45 minutes. That's the idea behind the podcast. But, with that being said, monkeys, you know, we've talked about life. We've talked about good habits. We've talked about injuries. We've talked about stuff. My question would be for you, what's going on, buddy? You know, how's the Dota team? You guys got anything coming up? You know, current events, stuff like that.
Well, we're still trying to scrim pretty much every day. It's dependent on the other team if they actually show up or not.
Yeah, that's always a hit or miss in America.
Which has probably, I would say, 4 times a week they don't show up. So you know, we're scrimming 3, maybe 4 times a week right now.
Like 4 total, like best of 3s throughout
no, just 2 game series.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, I mean we are all playing. We're all playing a decent amount of pubs. We're all like constantly talking about ideas, watching competitive Dota. I mean I would definitely say Husky and Gunner are probably, they watch the most out of all of us, but you know, we're all still in communication just constantly and just talking about new ideas. And when we do scrim, we try out a lot of new things that, you know, we all think might be cool or fun to play or whatever. And we're honestly, it's just a lot of laughing right now with us, BSJ. There's not too much to really look forward to or anything. So we're just trying to get through the times together and
gotta learn to laugh a little bit about
and just improve while we're going through it all.
I think my biggest issue in Dota is not being able to laugh. I think you know that very firsthand.
I do.
Why can't I consistently take a game of Dota and just enjoy it? Like, why is winning more important than enjoying the game? Because, I mean, I think if you focus on winning, you're actually more if you focus on enjoying the game, you're actually more likely to win, you know, as long as you're actually trying to learn, you know, it's like...
I'd say, to kind of go off that point, I'd say my worst aspect of Dota is literally when I get one person on my team that I know I don't get along with, but like on a moral level, a philosophical level, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. When I get someone on my team that like I just know is that toxic and like just is that unpleasant to play with because my avoid list isn't big enough to avoid all of those people.
Yes.
I just don't talk at all in those games because I'm just like, no matter what I say, this guy is just gonna like fucking bring the team down and just flame them all or flame me or just try and make everyone feel bad about themselves or their lives or whatever. And it's like it just makes me not want to play Dota like from the get-go.
Dude, this hits me hard. This hits me at home, like way too close to home, dude. I just got done playing with Matteroid, okay?
I know Matteroid.
Let's be very clear, guys. This is like he's the player. He's like one of maybe 10 players in NA that every time I play with him, I know my avoid list cycled through. Like, because I just re-avoid him. I re-avoid him every single time I'm on his team. Because I'm against freaking Mag PA. This is my last game, okay? I'm against Mag PA. I have a troll carry. And we're trying to, you know, what do you think to do against Mag PA? You want to pressure? You want to play up in their face? Make sure they're not farming too much? He's a Kunkka going Phase Boots Radiance. Okay? He has no other item. He goes Phase Boots Radiance. And he's been hitting our jungle for like from minute 7 to minute 20, and I'm just a level 8 axe trying to stop a PA from hitting Ancients who has a Deso and 3-shots me.
And then you're the one that gets flamed
at
20 minutes because you don't have Blink, Blade Mail, and a Lothars or something like
Dude, oh my god, that was my day-to-day, dude. That was actually my fucking day-to-day. I was getting a little annoyed And that game, I made so many late game decisions that were just so tilt based. They were so frustration based where I like right before I did it, I'm like, why am I fucking do this? And then I still do it anyway. And I'm like, ugh, you know, it's like it bothers you so much that you're letting something you know affects you, somebody else that you know should never affect you, you're letting it affect them. Dota's such a mental game. It's so much about all this stuff. So
No, seriously. And dude, like sometimes for me even where I have a really bad night of pubs. And I've gotten way better at this, but when I first joined the Zoomers, when I would have a bad night of pubs, I quite literally would like bring all of the negativity I got from other people in pubs like to my team scrims or matches or whatever we had the next day, and like I was causing issues within like our comms or like our play or whatever, and that was something that I realized was like weighing on me a lot because I just genuinely didn't want to play with all of these like negative influences and stuff like just in my life or whatever in Dota because there's so many of them. You can't avoid them all. You just can't. And
you are what you surround yourself with, man. If you surround yourself
yeah.
with toxic shit, you're just gonna slowly become it.
Yeah.
Unless you're sane like you are, monkeys.
but my point was that like I stopped playing pubs for a while there because of how much negativity I was actually getting from Dota, and I was unable to really be myself, I feel, because I'm not gonna exclusively blame the Dota community because obviously this year has been the most hectic, crazy year. No matter who you are, like
Yeah.
this year has just been an awful year for
And
the
it's all going to
majority
get
of
better
people.
after 2020. It's
Of
just
course,
a cursed
of course,
year.
of course.
None of the stuff going on in the world is because of, decades of abusing it or anything. It's all going to get better. It's just
only uphill for me.
Total coincidence that it all seems to be happening at once, and we're just unlucky, But continue.
But yeah, my point was that like I basically stopped playing pubs because of all of like that extra negativity that I really didn't want to deal with. But then, I started seeing a decline in my play and scrims and stuff where like, some scrims I would die like 8 times by 20 minutes, even though like I was kind of making the right plays, but then I was making like over aggressive moves in those plays where like I would go too far without my team behind me or stuff like that, where like I basically was I was getting overconfident in our power when we really weren't as strong as I thought we were and stuff like that because I wasn't playing enough Dota to like just have those connections made where like, oh, maybe I'm not just the strongest hero in the game as a level 7 Sand King at 10 minutes with drums or something like that. Like maybe I do have to play a bit more passively and like, actually understand how I'm supposed to go about these fights or how I'm supposed to position and stuff like that. So I kind of just like I kind of reset and I was just like, I'm just gonna mute all the toxic people and just play Dota. I'm just gonna play Dota, and if I get them on my team, I'll keep them muted and just move on with my life. That's all I can do, Like,
yeah, it's surprisingly effective to mute people for sure. But then again, I know you mentioned it. It still gets to me a bit when I know that guy's on my team. I'm like, I know I'm gonna be pissed at whatever he's doing in the game, and I just need to not think about it. But then at the same time, you want to what is my Kunkka building? I want to know how we're gonna play the game. I want to know if I need the halberd myself or it's like you have to keep checking what they're doing because it affects you. But then at the same time, it's like I don't want to know what this guy's doing.
Yeah, I don't want to understand this guy's mind. I just want to be ignorant, man. Just let him do him. I'll figure it out.
It's hard, dude. It's a constant back and forth with Dota for sure. That's the nice thing about playing on a team. At least you get to have honest feedback between each other about things you like and don't like about each other's play and item builds and all that kind of stuff. But
for sure.
Yeah, it's just another week of Dota, another week of life. I always look forward to our talks on Monday, monkeys. I know you dread it. Oh, okay, you enjoy it too. Thank you for
I mean, yeah. Oh man, I'm here again.
At least you're getting paid in burgers, right, monkeys?
Yeah.
Veggie burgers.
Oh yeah. All right, there we go.
So that is about time for us to wrap it up, guys. Just in case you were wondering, you can find all of our episodes on my YouTube channel. Eventually, monkeys may get around to actually being a content creator other than just being on a team.
I
I give you this shit every week, and
you know what, BSJ? Eventually, I'm gonna snap, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, damn! I pushed Monkeys too far this time."
And it's not gonna be something where it happened overnight, Monkeys. Just like all these bad habits, eventually you're gonna snap, and it's because I gave you shit about it for years, and I'll have myself to blame. But all of our stuff can be found on Prediction Esports audio stuff, so like Spotify and iTunes. That's where you find us there. Otherwise, you can always watch us on Twitch Monday nights. And usually we try to find some guests, but every other week-ish, every two, so we try to find people to talk to about random things. So if you want to check how to support the podcast, !podcast in my chat, or check the description on the YouTube video, and you can get all that information. We have a Patreon, we have ways of submitting questions, all that kind of stuff. So until next time, guys, hope you enjoyed the conversation this week, and I'll see you later, buddy.
Yep, see you, BSJ. See you, everyone. Have a good one. Bye, BSJ.